So, hello, I'm Bartosz, and this is the title of my talk. I heard that if you put many different words, it's like easier to get into conferences, and it's working, like you can see. So, first thing, that this disclaimer that I'm talking about my opinions, that it's my view. It's not like any company that I'm working for. It's just my perspective of seeing things, just to be sure. So who am I? So I'm a polyglot developer with love for Ruby. I have experience with .NET, Ruby, and Golang. Like I coded Golang like last half a year, and I didn't like it. I loved Ruby, and I missed Ruby, so I got back into Ruby, and that's why I changed my technical issues, but no, it's the same button. Okay, it's just latency stuff. So I became software engineer at TopTal. Do you know TopTal? Yeah, so I became software engineer there. If you want to ask some questions, you can ask me. I will answer. And one next. And it's my second time visiting Pivorak. So first time was in 2017, but I looked kind of different back then. So even if you saw me then, you don't remember me. So that's how I looked. So I'm kind of different person, you can see. And this is photo from Pivorak Facebook page. I hope you won't sue me for not including the link. And okay, let's get serious. Let's get to the stuff. So 1 year ago, I had a little bit of problem. I worked at Spree-Commerce, and Spree-Commerce is like 10 years old. It started during the times of Rails 1.0 version. So I was 14 years old when it was started, so it kind of grew over the years. And it was built like the old style with callbacks and everything, no services and everything. And last year we decided that we want to go into modern stuff. You want to have new API, you want to have support for JSON API standard, you want to have service objects, you want to have cool code that looks better for contributors, so it would be easier to contribute. So there was a question how to handle business logic, because it's kind of important thing, and that was my job to find solutions for everything. So the first thing you could think is like the Rails way is great. Use callbacks, use concerts, put all the logic into controllers. It will work for you, and so it's great. Unless you're not Basecamp. It's working for Basecamp because they're pretty small. They created Rails, they're working on Rails, so if they need something, they just implement it in Rails and force everyone to use it. And you are not Basecamp, so it's not so great. Actually, it wasn't so great for our case. So a little bit of history about having business logic in code. First, we had fat controllers, so we were putting all the logic into controllers. We had like control action with 400 lines of code. It was okay, why not? Then we decided that no, it's not so good. We want to move this code somewhere. So we moved everything to models. So it kind of was moving the problem from one place to another. We still had problem because the concepts were mixing and models were getting like 2,000 lines of code. So finding somewhere there was problematic. So what should we do? Yeah. Oh no. This is crazy. So we moved everything into concept, and it was like, again, moving the problem into different places, and problem still existed because if you wanted to find something in this model with like 4 included concerts, it was pretty hard. And then in 2012, there was a great blog post by Code Climate. It was called 7 Patterns to Refactor Active Record Models. Have you read it? Because it's like kind of classic. So you know it. And okay. So one of the patterns was extracting service objects. Do you know service objects? How would you like describe service object? It's like there are many opinions about them, many people like them in different ways. I want to present my way, how I wanted to see them. I will present some solutions that we have in community. So first I wanted to like get a definition of service object. I Googled it and I'm concerned about what I see here because as you can see, all the links are about Ruby on Rails. There is nothing about other technologies. So it's kind of like, if nobody is doing it, there are two options. We are so smart that we are better than them, or it's not, maybe it's not popular, or we are naming it in the wrong way. So I asked a few of my friends. So, hey. So I asked a guy from Java, I asked about service objects, do they have it in Java? And he said, service objects, and service layer. I said, okay, maybe you're naming it in a different way. So Dot and friends said something like this. PHP friends said, hey, we have service layer in Laravel, and Laravel is inspired by Rails. So I was like, okay, why don't we have it like with the same name? So I asked my friend from Node.js community, do you know what he said? npm install. So I Googled service layer and sorry for the issues. So service layer defines an application boundary set of available operations for the perspective of the interfacing client layers. So actually, it's just definition of what clients can do with our system. Definition of actions that they can change data and everything. So it's kind of what we are doing in service objects. They are just interacting with our system, and we can place them in many places. So different clients, like not in the perspective of person, but client as web client, Android client, or etc. can use those. So, and it's Martin Fowler. Do you know Martin Fowler? He's like really old guy, but really smart guy who is writing about programming really good stuff. So service objects are basically service layer. So we are just cool and want to use different name for things that already existed. And how does good service object look? Like, we are a community. Do we have one standard for service objects? Or we have like tens of thousands of versions of service objects in different projects? So it depends. What you prefer, what you like. I will present my opinion on that. So first thing, I would like it to be an object. I want to have instance of object. I don't want to call methods on class because like sharing this between things is pretty hard, and doing dependency injection is impossible because you don't have instance. So you have like strict code that cannot be changed easily. So be simple and easy to understand. I think it's like the basic rule of good code that we should write. It should be easy. We think that we are smart, we are educated, we can handle complicated stuff, but in the end we can't. We are failing to handle if something gets really complicated. So we should try to make it simple, and if we introduce new developer, he should be looking at this and, oh, it's easy, I can read this from top to bottom and understand it. I like to have one public instance method called call. So it encourages the correct naming. So if you have operation like create client, so create client.call is like proper English sentence. So it's creating proper English sentences. It's like, so it's properly defined. And interface is compatible with proc, lambda, and method, because if you have some of them, you can call the method call on them and it will be called, so you can change them. It's like easier to replace everything. And use instance variables for dependencies only. So you don't have state shared between many methods. So we are jumping around the code because this variable is changed in line 10, 12, 20 and 38, and you have to find where it was changed, where it wasn't changed, why it stopped working. So it's easier to don't use instance variables in service objects. And returning result object or struct. So if you have some service object, you always get one type of response. So we are pretty sure that it will respond to something like if it was success or not, because there are almost all service objects have two ways. Like it can run properly and return success and return created object or something, or it can fail. So you are expecting to get some error message. So sometimes people are returning nil, false, true, or object. So it's good to have some defined result. So you can check the result easily. So what about solutions we have in Ruby? The first group, it's grouped by me. It's called interactor and derivatives. Do you know interactor? So interactor, I think it was one of the first games that introduced service objects, and it looks simple, but I don't like few things about it. This context thing. We just have call, we don't have pass, we don't have anything, and then from somewhere comes context with different values. We don't know what values can we expect. This context is working like open struct, so if you call it with something that doesn't exist, you will get nil. You can run into problems with that. I like to be explicit that if I'm passing 2 or 3 parameters, I would like to see them in the call method, like I have parameters. And one more arrow. And as you can see, there is no instance. We are just calling call on class. So we cannot use any dependency injection, and you are just passing hash, so you can pass anything. And even if you pass something that doesn't make sense, it won't tell you, because it will it will create context from that, and you cannot control what is passed. So you will run into problems only when you run the code. You cannot, and you will get random errors because something is new. So it's great if you use it. I don't like it. So action logic is a little bit of extension for interactor. It still has context, so it's the same idea. That's why it's grouped in this place. Okay. It added validations, so it's pretty good because you can validate params, so you will get proper message if you enter wrong parameters for that. So it's pretty useful when you are creating new code. And there is this problem that we are defining call method, but then because of reasons we have to call execute, and it's on class, so it wasn't for me. Active interaction, so it's like pushing this idea further. So you can define params with DSL. So it's like pretty nice. You are using execute. It's like why? But it's pretty good because you are getting a result object. You can always check if it was valid, and if it wasn't valid, you have errors. And if it's valid, you have result. It's pretty good to return something with the same interface for everything. So you can expect if it was valid or not. It's easier to return values like that. So it's pretty good, but it's pretty complicated. Actually, I'm using this in one of my projects currently. It's I was thinking that I'm smart, and I started to look in that code, and there was some building this context thing and everything. I was like, okay, I'm not smart at all. I'm stupid. I'm just not smart enough for that solution. Yeah, so outcome is nice. Yeah, and they have callbacks. We don't like callbacks, so we'll get callbacks in our service objects. And there is second group. It's Monads-like solutions. So what is monad? Do you know what is monad? So monad is just monoid in the category of endofunctors. What's the problem? So do we have any functional programmer here? Okay, good. Do you know how to distinguish functional programmer from another? He will tell you. You are sure. You can be sure that if you meet functional programmer, he will say, yes, I'm programming Haskell. So I don't want to explain whole monad because you can talk about this thousands of hours and it won't be enough for that because monads are great and there are solutions for everything. But there is one monad that is pretty nice for usage in service objects. It's called monad either. So either represents values with two possibilities. It's left or right. So if something was successful, it didn't create any problems, you are going the right way. And if something went wrong, you are going left. So it's just left or right. It's pretty nice. And this is the base of railway-oriented programming. Have you heard about it? Yeah, so this term was introduced in 2014, I think, by some guy from F# language, .NET. That's why I remember. So he introduced this railway-oriented programming thing. So it's just having the option like in all places we have two ways of going further. So we can have success and go the green way, or we can have failure and go red path. So if something went wrong, we are going further, and it's pretty easy for that. How does it look? How would it look in the code? So let's assume that we have two steps in our service objects. First is validation, and second is updating database. Of course, there are terrible names for that, but it's just an example. So validation has two options. If it got validated, its data was provided in proper way, it's going green way and going to update DB. So, but if something failed, it's getting bypassed, and we are not updating DB because we don't want to put invalid data there. So it's pretty easy. You can say, hey, why don't you just if else? Yeah, do you even code? Yeah, it's really great if you use if else for simple case. Like it was really simple. Okay, if valid, then update. If not valid, not update. Easy. But after you add more lines of code, you can have problems like this. I've seen code like this in few places. Refactoring it is like pure hell. So I don't recommend doing this if you see something like this, like you have 3 or 4, like I don't know the word, but if you go into write too much, it's bad for you. So we have few solutions using railway-oriented programming in Ruby. The first one is Waterfall. Have you heard about Waterfall? No? So it was pretty popular in Poland. I don't know why, but people liked it. I really don't like it because, as you can see, it's really simple. Yeah, it's a simple case, and then you have like many different words like chain, when failcy, dumb, and again chain, on dumb. So it's just too complicated for me, like, because chain is like first action, then we are checking if it was false, then we are doing this dumb, and then we have to handle this dumb with this. It's like many things to learn for such simple case. So I would say no. Yeah. So Trailblazer Operation. Yeah. Do you know Nick? Yeah. Did you drink with Nick? So you know Nick. I know Nick. Nick is a really smart person. I really like him. He's great, but he's doing smart things with his code, and it's like having similar problems with previous solutions. Like we don't have instance; we are just calling on the class, so we don't do dependency injection. I think that Nick don't like it, so he didn't need it, and he introduced a lot of different words for defining this, a lot of DSL, a lot of learning for a new developer to just get grasp of this, because you have this contract property with validations, then we have step, failures. It's pretty good solution. If you want to use it, it's really good. It's much better than having everything in controller, but it's just one of the options. And have you heard about the IRB? Yeah, you probably know Piotr too. And this is my favorite solution, my favorite existing solution. So if you start with something like this, it's really simple. Like you have 3 steps. There's nothing less, like nothing more, like validations, contracts, file sync, and everything. It's just simple. You can read it from the top to the bottom. You can see what's happening. You can put anything into this in place of any of these methods. You can replace those methods with another service object, maybe with proc, with lambda. That's why I like having a call method on service object, because you can put everything in a chain and you can expect that it will return proper values. So it's just one of the simplest cases that you can have. So if we have problem with validation, like we don't have an organizer, we can fail and don't process its next steps. So it's pretty easy to define. Then defining method, it's like, we are doing this in all the places in our code, so it's simple for us. We don't have to learn it. And this is this validation. What if we wanted to change it? Oh, okay. I want to go back. So we are just creating new instance. If we don't want to replace anything, we're just creating new, and we can use call. If we provide organizer as community, yeah, we're having all the steps, everything is working. We have success on the end. So it was green path all the way. If we don't pass the community, we got failure. Second step wasn't executed. Everything is like, it's not okay because we don't have organizer, so it's pretty bad for us. So maybe let's try using this so-called dependency injection. Like, we are scared of it because it's like from Java world. We don't like Java. We want to be cool Ruby programmers, but it's pretty good solution for this case. So if you want to replace one of the steps, we can like create operation for that. It's just simple service object. And if you want to change one of the steps, we can simply just provide it into constructor. It's just really simple. We are doing this all day. And even if you don't pass organizer, we change the step, and we have like basic data for conference. So even if we don't pass organizer, the action was changed and everything was okay. Okay. And that's all solutions that I know and that they were worth of showing. I think if there is something else, you can talk with me about it. And what did I choose? How do you think? So, worst one, I integrated in myself. I mean, it's working. It's not so bad. People are not complaining about it, but I did it myself, and I'm not sure if it's like a good idea. I don't want to show it because a lot of metaprogramming and weird stuff with sense and everything. So, but I did it. Yeah. And where can we go next? Because we had these models, controllers, fat concerns. And now we have service object. Where can we go further? We can go to like world of domain-driven design. Do you know domain-driven design? Like hierarchy and stuff. So it's one of the way. We can go to some event sourcing. We can go to CQRS. We can move further. But if you have problems with service objects, you probably are better programmer than maybe I am. So you can choose better solution for you. But service objects are pretty nice for starting the applications. When your application is pretty small, it's really good, in my opinion. You can prove me wrong because I'm just a random guy from the internet. So you have you can choose. You don't have to use service objects. You can go to domain design from the start if you can, if you know how to do it. Just keep your code simple. It's like, remember to make it simple so new developers will understand it and you will understand like 2 months after writing it. And thank you. You can find me on Twitter and mail me because like I'm detoxicating from social media. So you can, if you want to talk, you can find me here or just mail me about something and tell me that my presentation was bad or good. How do you like it? Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so why not write transaction? It looks like, well, what goes wrong is right.
Oh, actually, it wasn't because of me. I wanted to use it, but my CTO told me that he don't want to have any more dependencies in project, and it's better to implement it by myself. He believed in me, so I ended up with custom solution because my CTO didn't want new dependencies in project. But I would use dry transaction. Oh, so I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I will remember that. Like it would be, yeah, please.
Give us a chance.
What's the biggest problem you faced during the refactoring and architecture changes? Do you have some lessons learned?
The biggest problem was keeping like backward compatibility because in Spree we had many people using it and we wanted to provide them way to upgrade their old applications to the new version. So we had to keep the old code working. So I was replacing some methods into service objects and calling those service objects, showing deprecation messages. It was kind of complicated, but I hope that people who will be using this will have easy way of upgrading. Yeah.
You suggest to use transactions for all types of services. I mean, there are a lot of services such as policies.
Policy is the different thing. It's not a service object.
So you don't use it for this project?
No. For policies, I'm using Pandit. Of course, I don't want to say that you should introduce all this thing into your project. If your project has interactor, keep the interactor thing because you won't change everything. Like you would have to refactor all the application. And if you have some existing solutions, I think it's better to keep it like that, unless it's getting really problematic for you. So if you have some solution in your project, don't change it.
I have one more question over there.
Why you prefer instances over class map?
Because I like doing this dependency injection, so I can replace one of the methods or one of the classes because if a service has is calling 3 other services, there are some cases that you have to do a lot of operations there, and there is some case that you want to skip one of the steps or something, you have easy way of doing it. And in testing, like if you have one of the steps would be sending emails, and you don't want to send emails in the test, you can just create instance with replaced send email action. So you have easier tests and you don't have to stop, mock, doing this allow something to receive stuff and everything.
Can it be just replaced by constants?
Excuse me?
You can just replace constants, not objects. No?
So you want to replace constants in runtime? It's like, I don't think that's a good idea to change constants in runtime because if you have...
I mean, not the actual concept, but name of object. The class is object itself.
Yeah, but you have to pass it somewhere. So if you don't have instance, you would have to pass it in your call method probably as param. And constructor, I think, is a good place. Like it's a solution from other technologies. It's done like this in Java, .NET, and everything. it's solving a lot of problems for them because they don't have dynamic typing, they don't have duck typing. They have to define interfaces and everything. So they have much more complicated case for that. We have dynamic language, which is Ruby, which can do anything like this easily, but it's just like good pattern for bigger code base, I think. It's just my opinion. I don't know if it's correct.
Guys, I think you need to go together for some beer and discuss it after that.
Yeah, if you will have some questions, please ask me. I'm a pretty shy person, so I won't be able to talk to someone I don't know, but if you talk to me, I will talk to you back. So it's easier for me if you talk to me first.
Bartosz,
Okay.
I want to say thank you for you being brave, standing on the scene and giving the talk. I have a present for you. Thank you so much for your first talk.
Yeah.